Now it's going.
Okay.
Yes.
Wait, back them off.
Yeah, so I backed it all the way off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go see Diane, see if she's gonna stand.
Yeah, why don't you start? Tell
Yeah.
your name and...
Yeah,
where
John
you're going.
Yakish. I was born in
Tell them
1931.
what day it is today, too. Sorry.
What?
Tell them what day it is. What's the date?
Today?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's the 20.
Yeah, this
20.
is
18th?
July 20th.
I don't know, I think it's...
20th was
18th,
Sunday.
or
It's
is
the
it?
22nd already.
Oh, yeah?
No, Sunday
I
was the
know.
18th. Today's
Yeah, 19th.
July 20th.
20th, yeah.
Yeah, today's July 20th, 2010. And just describing life on the farm, and born in 31. Depression years, born and raised in the farm. And we always had enough to eat, you know, you had to worry about you getting something to eat. We raised our own cattle, hogs, and meat, and chicken, and eggs, and then
Had a garden, I suppose.
what's that?
Had a garden.
Oh yeah, garden and all our food and everything. So, and it was kind of uneventful. We had a lot of fun during the years. Some of the humorous stuff that happened. You know, one day my mother, and we decided to butcher a chicken for Sunday dinner, and she had me holding the head. Had me holding the head on the beak on the chicken while she come down with the axe. There's no way I'm gonna trust a woman with an axe, so I let go of the beak, and she ended up chopping the beak off. It's just something I remember, and I suppose I caught hell. And then she got there. We also had sheep, and this big sheep buck. I was 8, 9 years old. I'd kind of teasing it all the time and butting heads with it and making it ornery and everything. And so one day she was carrying feed from the barn to the chicken house, and the buck came up behind her and knocked her head and ass over tea kettles. I caught hell for that too. Yeah, and then I remember got to be 1941. I can still remember and it was on a Sunday that my mother says, "Well, we're at war now. They just Japan just bombed Pearl Harbor." That's one thing I remember.
How old were you at the time?
10. I was 10 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then we, I guess it was got to be 1945. We instead of going to high school years, instead of going to Wolmar, which we were in, Wolmar didn't have any buses, and we Colfax did, so we ended up going to Colfax High School, and that was what did they do after that here?
I was gonna say, how about grade school? You-
Oh yeah, we put in went to Catholic grade school for 8 years out at Cooks Valley.
Did you walk for a while, or?
Yeah, we walked. I remember we got a ride in the morning, and we usually walked home at night, and the weather permitting and that. But we always say, well, it was 3 miles of school, and it was uphill both ways. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And then when I got to be a sophomore in high school, I started thinking about the Marine Corps already. I hated farming. I had to get away from farming. So,
Huh.
we had the same birthday, November 10th. So then I ended up right out of high school. Then me and Jerry Viscotchik and Dave Rude, we had a Model A. We were going to Alaska. We started out. And,
Oh, hey, you have some, John, before you go, if you could step back. Did you tell them about your mother with the chicken?
yeah.
Yeah,
I
Okay.
did.
Did you do the toilet paper?
Oh yeah. Well, one thing back on the farm we had didn't have any plumbing, and I think it was around 1940 before we had electricity. We had just kerosene and that and everything, and yeah. And then it got to be when the guy was in using the bathroom, we didn't have any toilet paper. We used a catalog. And you tried to stay away from the glossy pages,
Did you say about
Roebuck and-
the peach paper?
yeah, the
Sears and
luxury was
Montgomery Ward.
if you bought a crate of peaches, that nice soft paper, that was a luxury. Yeah.
And you had a couple of stories here. I don't know if maybe you did told these, but about Rosie with the sheep.
Mother. That was
Did-
mother.
Our mother. Okay. And then you
Yeah,
tell them about.
I told that.
Yeah.
You tell them about the pigs too. Well, I guess that was your story.
That was mine.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. And then, actually, we finally graduated from high school. I think I survived about 3-4 days, and we were on the road headed for Washington to Uncle Vern out there, and then we were going to Alaska. But kind of a depression year, so we never wasn't too much work and everything, and we. I know we picked weeds in a cornfield and packed apricots, and finally ran out of money, and there was no way I was coming home, so I stayed with Uncle Vern and the other two guys. Jerry bought a train ticket. Dave didn't have any money, so he hitchhiked home.
I was gonna say tell who went with you. Well, you mentioned it now, but
Yeah, Jerry Biscotchick and Dave Root. Yeah, they.
And why'd you
And
go?
how did you get there?
Model A.
Yeah, that was
Whenever we had to stop and fill up for oil, often we did gas because the engine burned oil. But we made her. It was fun going through the mountains and everything. Everything was new. And then anyway, Dave and Jerry they came back home, and I stayed with Uncle Vern, and I got a job in a cannery for summer months. And then when that petered out, then I joined the Marines in September 29th. I ended up in San Diego, and then that was my I ended up enlisted for 3 years, but then the Korean War broke out, and I ended up going 3 years and 3 months altogether.
they extend your enlistment?
Yeah, they extended enlistment a year, and then they cut that short. Cut it back to 9 months.
Where'd you take your training?
San Diego. Yeah.
Well, what's in San? Is that Paris Island?
Recruit. San Diego, right in San Diego recruit base. Yeah,
Was
that
that
was
pretty rigorous?
that was boot camp was pretty rough. But
What'd
I
you-
survived that pretty good.
What'd you do in boot camp?
Well, they abused us quite a bit. I even got slapped once.
For what?
Oh yeah.
Well, I didn't do nothing wrong. I just got slapped.
Just for being there?
No, I did something, but I don't remember.
They slapped you for the hell of it.
And I had.
Did they do calisthenics and stuff like that?
Oh
Or
yeah.
Would they wake you up in the morning or?
Oh yeah, you had to be up in the morning. Yeah. I know one time when somebody did something wrong and they punished us. Our parade field was maybe a quarter of a mile long, or maybe a little less than that. But we had 2 DIs. One would run us down, and the others run us back. And they says, "Well, don't quit. You had to keep running and everything." And it was pretty soon they was all stragglers all the way there. And I think I came in second. Me and the one guy beat me in as far as endurance, so I did pretty good.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. Then
Did they break you? He's supposed to, when you go in there, you're supposed to be able to take orders.
Well, one thing I was always looking for something fun to do, and they had smoker bouts, regular boxing. You try out for that. I had in 4 weeks I had four bouts, and I won 3 of them, and ended up getting the one I lost. He was a Gold Glove champ from Ohio, so I couldn't quite handle him.
Had you boxed before that?
Well, I was always thinking about boxing. Yeah.
But you never did it though, huh? What was your?
Well, as far as the ring fighting, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
I did get in. Uncle Vern had a pair of boxing gloves when he was out there, and Dave and Jerry and Dave, they were always teasing me about this one place we stopped. I think it was a wheat field or something. We asked for a job, and this one guy, well, he didn't have any work, but he says, these 2 guys here would be okay, but that little kid there, I was smaller, shorter, and baby faced. He says, what will he be able to do? And he kept teasing me all the time and everything. And finally we got back to Uncle Vern's this one day, and I said, okay, we'll put the gloves on here. We'll see who's tough and everything. Jerry lasted. He didn't even last around. He had all bloodied up and everything. And then me and Dave, well, he was a little tougher. we boxed a couple rounds and he quit too. So after that, it was quiet.
No more baby
Yeah,
face,
no
huh?
more baby face. Yeah. Yeah, then I ended up out of boot camp. I ended up in Camp Pendleton. And we were there 3-4 months, and then the Korean War broke out. And right away, I happened to be in the 5th Marines, which, they were short of troops over in Korea there. And within 2 weeks, we were aboard ship. We had what they call the 5th Marine Brigade. It was the 3rd of a division. They went aboard ship. It took 2 weeks to get over there. And then we were almost getting pushed off our peninsula there, and then we finally. I know we landed August 2nd.
I was gonna say, where'd you land in Korea?
Busan.
Busan. Oh,
Busan, yeah, hotter. It's pretty hot already.
yeah.
I landed August 2nd and August 5th. There was mortar shells were going over our head. It's kind of. If you could hear the mortars or the artillery whine, you know you were safe because it's going over your head. But if you heard a real loud crack all of a sudden, then that was pretty close. I remember they said, well, dig in, and that it was hotter than hell, and the ground was hard, just like gravel and everything. And I think I dug about a 6-inch hole there, and I just laid in it. As heck with it, but we survived anyway. And then. Yeah, then we had some pretty rough battles there for 2-3 weeks, and then we made the Incheon landing. That was MacArthur's good idea. It was a good idea. And Incheon landing it cut the supply off, and then we went from there. We went into Seoul.
Can you talk to what was the Incheon landing like?
Well, we went in on the 5th wave, and then I remember this. We went over the side of the ship in the netting and got in the landing boat, bullets and everything flying around. I remember this one Mexican kid. He was kind of a ladies' man, a loudmouth guy and everything. And he was kneeling in the bottom of the boat praying the rosary. Yeah. So yeah. Then we went to Ascom City. A couple days later, it wasn't really that rough. We had it secured pretty quick. But anyway, in the Ascom City, we had to dig down this one night. There was still enemy around and everything, and 2 guys in a foxhole, and one guy's supposed to stay awake, and one guy, sleeping at. Nothing really happened. I think we had one little firefight, but anyway, next morning this camp cook was telling me he had to take a crap so bad, and he didn't want to get out of the foxhole, and he didn't have room to sit down, so he stuck his hand inside his pants and shit in his hand and threw it out. That would have been kind of exciting if that would have hit an enemy soldier in the face when he's coming up. He would have been pissed, I think.
Or even somebody else with a nearby foxhole.
Yeah. Yeah, then we captured Seoul.
Did you eat from him?
No, it was 2 weeks before I would eat anything.
He was a cook. You said.
Yeah, he was a cook. Yeah. I didn't even know his name. His name was Reed. Yeah.
You want to stop and take a break, or you want to keep going, or?
I'll keep going. Yeah.
Well, we can. Then we went into captured Seoul. That was Kimpo Airfield, and then went into Seoul. That was pretty bloody. That was the last main resistance there. Once we captured that, then the army shot up the left side. That would be the west side into North Korea, and then we Marines went aboard ship and swung around and made the Wonsan landing way up to. We were going to cut the supply off again, and there wasn't much resistance there.
That's from the other side of Korea.
That'd be the east side.
Yeah.
Around this way.
Incheon's on the west side.
Yeah.
How'd you get over there to cut them off?
Ship. We had on a ship. Yeah. We made another landing just like we did at Incheon. See, that was the idea, but the resistance wasn't really there. I remember going through. They mined the bay there going into Wons or Hamhung. I know I don't know if I actually seen any, but we had to slow down for maybe got held up for a day or two while the minesweepers cleared the mine.
Okay.
You know, if a big mine like that hits a ship,
Oh,
it'll just about sink it down.
Yeah. Wasn't much. You said there wasn't much firepower coming at you when you.
No, it wasn't as bad as it could have been if they'd have really been. It's more of a surprise there and everything. Then we ahead of us was a 5,000 foot plateau where they call it the Chosen Reservoir, big lake up there where they produce electricity, and that's where we marched up there, and then there was talk about the Chinese entering the war, and nobody really believed it. MacArthur wanted to march right through Manchuria and take China, but they got they had 100 million man army, and we had less than 1 million, so that wouldn't have been fair. I mean, it wouldn't have been too smart. And then
Were you guys worried the Chinese were going to join?
well, the Chinese finally did. They hit us just bang. There were 6 divisions hit us November 29th, and we ended up getting surrounded, completely surrounded. Well, we were outnumbered 12 to 1.
Jeez.
We had 12,000 men, and they had 130 or 140. And first big battle, it was a battle, they called it East Hill Day. The Chinese came down just like flies, maybe 5,000 strong. And I know a bandolier holds 20 clips, 160 rounds. I was out of ammo by morning. I even remember writing home. I didn't write to my folks. I wrote to my sister, Mona, and I says, well, I got off 160 rounds last night, and sure was fun while it lasted. They're worried anyway, and then I got to write that.
Joke around with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And we captured 6 prisoners in the morning. They jumped out with their hands up. And we were at Hagaroo. That was kind of the base area up there, and they did have an airstrip bulldozed out about, I think it was about 3,500 feet. It wasn't near long enough. It was long enough for transport, or the small passenger planes. I don't know what they call them. I think it was a 2-engine plane. They could haul a maximum of 35 guys, and we flew. They were flying out steady. Flew all our wounded out. I know some of our, few of my buddies, my company, they got flown out. They got wounded, and then we started battle. It took us 21 days to get down to Ham Hung, and it.
Can you talk about what happened there in those 21 days?
Well,
you said
didn't
that's
have
the
much to eat. I was pretty hungry all the time, and we had to melt snow to eat. Couldn't dig a foxhole because it was the ground was froze. Well, it was some books and articles say 40 below zero, but I know it got to be at least 30 below zero.
Wow.
And we did have a fairly good sleeping bag, but it was still cold. I did suffer a little bit from frostbite. I get a pension now from frostbite, but I didn't lose anything and didn't really freeze anything, but it hurt the circulation, my circulation a little bit.
Your feet or where?
And then when one thing I did, I knew better than some guys. When you get in a sleeping bag, take your boots off and dry your socks. Have 2 pair of socks and dry them under your arm and that. A lot of guys that didn't take their boots off for a week straight with all the sweating that they ended up refreezing, losing their feet.
Wow.
We lost a third of our men through frostbite. That's 3,000-4,000 guys got frostbite, and we had I think altogether about 800 people. 800 got killed in that battle. I know the reporters this one day, Chesty Puller, he was kind of the leader of the 7th Marines. He was a gung-ho guy, and he says, what are you guys going to do now? You're completely surrounded by Chinese. He says, good, we got them right where we want them. And then they told our General Oliver Smith too. He says, oh, the Marines, they're retreating. He was kind of making fun of them. The Marines never was supposed to retreat, never did retreat. He says, retreat hell, we're just advancing in a different direction. which was true. No matter which way you went, there was Chinese. They were there. Yeah. And the reporters were writing back home. They said, well, the 1st Marine Division is gonna be wiped out. They wanted the main Chinese generals, they wanted to get rid of the Marine Corps Division. And they said they were gonna wipe them out, but they didn't make her.
You're here today, huh?
We did stick together, we didn't have any long supply lines and everything, and we just stayed together and fought our way out. 21 days, we made her down to Ham Hung December 19th. So, and we went aboard ship and blew up the shoreline and everything. We took 100,000 refugees with us. the natives up there, civilians, they didn't like communism. They wanted to get out, and we took them with us, so we had room. Took all our wounded out, most of our dead, and everything. So it's yeah, and then got down to we little few days later we were at Mason, Korea. That's in the southern part. And right before New Year or Christmas, we had a big midnight. I remember the big midnight Christmas mass and everything we had there. And then later on, we were kind of on a little hill there, and more or less a rest area. There wasn't too much activity in there. And so one day the tech sergeant he made an announcement. He says, you know, right down the hill here, there's a house. Remember, he called it the House of Ill Repute. I don't want any of you guys going down there. Well, that was just like putting it in the paper. And me, I didn't know. Definitely wasn't a customer there. And me and the other guy from Pickle, Wisconsin, we went down there, and I said, let's have some fun. You know, there was 2-room shack, and they had 2 girls in there, and there was a line there about 200 feet long. I says, let's burn it down. You know, and he said, oh, he didn't know. But I says, you throw the little gas on there, I'll throw the match. So we did. We went there after dark. Thing went up in flames. We ran back up in the hill and watched. There was some cussing going on. You can imagine the guys waiting in line for 2 hours, and all of a sudden everything goes up in smoke. Yeah. Yeah. And then about in March. Yeah, this was January. We went back and forth and that. Another thing we liked to do, we delivered oil and that to the front lines. There wasn't too much going on. Chinese did come all the way back down. They recaptured Sewell and everything. Then the war lasted Wolmar, you went over there. The war lasted till, was it the fall of 53 or 52?
I think it was 53.
53.
53, yeah, that's incorrect. Yeah, I was out before it was over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember driving to town, you know, over there, the women, they can carry a basket of clothes or water on their head just like nothing, you know, they'd walk along. We'd sit in the back of this open truck, and we had a long stick. We'd go by, we'd knock the basket off. And they could swear too. That was kind of a mean trick, but it's fun.
That's something to enjoy. Some recreation.
Yeah.
Well, afterward, how long were you over in Korea?
I made the second relief back. I remember my buddy Louis Lozak, he went back in the first draft. And I made the second draft back. I was only there 8 months.
Oh, yeah.
Well, action for 8 months.
That was enough for me.
And then you got back, and then you were released then, or what?
No, I still had 2 years to serve on my original 3 years.
Oh.
See, I got back in March of '51, and I didn't get out till December of '52.
Oh, yeah.
But that San Diego, I got stationed at San Diego, and that was. I remember one thing we went back to. Where I went to work in the depot there. I was kind of in supply there, and I remember this one guy. He says, "Well, how was it? Was it cold over there?" I says, "Well, I remember this one statement. This reporter asked this one Marine. He says about being cold and that. He says, "Yep." He says, "Hell froze over once, and I was there." That was me. Yeah.
So you say that was the roughest fighting, most intense fighting in any modern battle?
Yeah, that was. The reporters were, writing in that. They said that was most savage fighting in modern warfare. That was rough, and we got awarded 17 Medal of Honor on just that one battle. That was the most of any battle, single battle like that. So it was. There's been about 6-8 books been written about that, and I've read a couple of them. That everything you read in there is true. So.
Yeah.
Well, how'd they supply you though? By plane or what?
Yeah. Luckily, I mean, we'd have never made it out if it wouldn't been for the Air Force. They dropped all supplies in.
Oh, yeah.
They even dropped Tootsie Rolls. I don't know. They made some kind of mistake. I mean, it was a good energy bar and everything, but, but you'd have to keep it in your mouth for 10 minutes so it thaw out and everything. And yeah, that's one thing.
Yeah.
And I know one time, I think it was going into Coterie, the air support too, like dropping napalm. You know, napalm is a jelly bomb, and I know I was close enough. Sometime you could feel the heat. There's maybe a ton of jelly gas, and boy, anything within any distance at all, it burnt all the oxygen up, and it was a killer. Yeah. No, the Air Force, they kept. It wouldn't have been for that, we'd have never made it out.
They were dropping that napalm so close to the front line that you
Well,
could feel the heat.
it was close enough. Yeah.
Jeez.
You could see the ball of fire. Yeah.
And how many people went up, and then how many people got injured, or? 'Cause
Well, we lost. We a lot of our 12,000 guys. They say a third of them got killed or wounded, and a third of them suffered from frostbite.
wow.
Just frostbite alone. Yeah. We weren't quite ready for that. That was the coldest winter on record up in that area.
Wow.
That really was cold. Well, you're 5,000 feet up to start. You know it's going to be colder, but then
Yeah.
30 below in end of November. That's pretty rare.
Yeah.
And then we had the snowstorm. I know this one time we were really hoping for air support, and there was a snowstorm, lasted for 2 days and everything, and finally it cleared up, and boy, that everybody was happy. Then the airplanes came in.
Were they attacking during the snowstorm? The
No,
Chinese?
you couldn't fly. It was bad.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Bad, yeah.
The Chinese, though.
Oh
were
yeah,
they-
yeah. That
Oh,
as soon as
didn't
it got
slow
dark,
down?
they were right there.
Oh, yeah. I still didn't slow them down, huh?
Fighting got so heavy at one time in this one book. It describes. See, they got a hand grenade with a handle on it. There's a certain name for that. They'd come rolling in and everything, but this one guy said he batted a couple back with his rifle butt. Not me, I didn't. And I wasn't crazy about hand-to-hand combat either. We were ready for it and everything, but if my rifle worked, they were gonna get shot. They weren't gonna get stabbed.
That close?
No
Yeah. But
sporty.
the old M1 rifle, that was a good old gun. Mine held up, boys. Well, you get 160 rounds off one night, it stays hot, and it ain't gonna freeze.
Good.
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
many people did you fight, you think, that night? Or, I mean, not that night, but during the war there. How many Chinese were coming
Well,
at you?
there were 6 Chinese divisions, 130,000. We killed 30,000.
Holy
We lost 1,000. They lost 30,000. But and I read later that out of these 6 divisions, we took enough casualties. They never got back, never recovered, never got back in the war after next year or two. They were out of commission. Yeah.
They were fighting.
Yeah, well, I read a book, maybe it was in that one of those things you gave, one of the book you gave me. They said that the idea, they were going to be advancing two armies. You were one of them, and there was another one.
Yeah. Well,
left.
Korea there, when we were up in the Chosen, or in the reservoir, we were what they call the east side, which would
Yeah.
be toward the east, and then there was a small mountain range in the center, and the army was on
Yeah.
the other side. Well, when the Chinese hit, the army never really stayed too organized. They just, everybody for themselves. Matter of fact, some of them ran back so fast the Chinese couldn't even catch them. And they had a lot more people captured than we did. We had very few prisoners of war in the army. The ratio was about 70 to 1, considered the same amount of people.
Wow.
But this General Allman, see, we were the 10th Corps, and this General Allman, he was in charge of everything, and he wanted us Marines to march over the top of the mountains and join the army. Well, our Oliver Smith, he says, he disobeyed. He says, we're in the Marine Corps. Our supply lines would get spread out too much. They'd have got cut off, and it would have been suicide. And by golly, we stuck together, and then we stayed together. And there was couple passes there. We just about didn't make it there, but we made her back to the headquarters, Hagaroo. Everything was centered around Hagaroo.
When you said you didn't, because you were getting ambushed by people, by Chinese in the
Oh
mountains?
yeah. They, on the way out, I know the Chinese. They were kind of smart. They'd stay out about 600 yards, figuring they're out of range. You could pick them off.
But an M1?
You could see them in M1. Yeah.
Wow.
You could see the white. They had white. Seemed like they had white clothes on. they blended into the snow. It's hard to see them in that, but no. When I qualified with the M1, I know you shoot 500 yards, with open sights, but you got a bull about 16 inches wide. And I needed 8 out of 10 to make expert, and I got 9 shots out of 10. I got bullseye and 500 yards. So another 100 yards. That's a little further, but
A lot further.
yeah.
Well, anyway, this book said that as a strategy, they had 2 forces split by this mountain. They were split from each other, and that's a big no-no in military tactics.
Yeah. No, that was.
Somebody screwed up big time there.
Well, and General Alman, he's a dummy. What he was. Had poor training. How did he get to be general?
Really?
Good politician.
Yeah. So. Okay. Well, then the war was over, and let's see, 19.
You're
19. I got out of the Marine Corps and stayed in San Diego a year and a half. Had a good time down there. Had a motorcycle. Met Paul Reen, a few guys from Wolmar down there, Harold Ockel. We had it was a fun couple of years. Yeah.
They traveled down the sea. You mean? So it happened?
Yeah, we had one bar we used to go to called the Windmill. You buy a pitcher of beer there, and you got a tray of peanuts and bologna and cheese. Every pitcher you bought. If you sat there for 3-4 hours, the next morning you didn't have to take a physic. You just whoosh. That's one thing I remember.
Well, Paul never got to Korea, did he?
Yeah, he was
Oh, he
over there.
did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he was in mortars too, and he it was more of a stalemate. The Chinese were there, and I guess it wasn't that bad. But he said up there we didn't. They were just thinking about vest, bulletproof vests and that. I never seen one. We never wore any. Well, I didn't have a chance. But he says when he was down there, he slept. He had all. He even slept with it. Yeah.
Well, would they stop on M1 bullet?
It's more for shrapnel.
Yeah.
Like right now they got some developed really good, what do they call it, Vexlar or whatever. Or not
Kevlar.
Vexlar. Yeah, something like that. But like an AR-15 traveling 3,800 feet per second, they'll go through just about anything, small bullet that fast. But it's mostly for shrapnel and that.
Yeah.
I think like your pistol, like the cops and that, 45, bigger, slower slug, it might stop. I think them are foolproof too, but a fast bullet, it ain't gonna. Cripes the M1, we used armor-piercing bullets, go through an inch of iron, you could just about wipe out a tank if you hit them often enough.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Well, when you were down in San Diego, were you out of the military then, or were you still in?
No, I was still in, yeah.
So you were just stationed there.
Yeah, till my time ran up. Paul came in February of '52, and we even totaled the car out there. I came home in 51. 52. I bought the car. Yeah, he was there till that summer there, and we. That one night we went up and seen Harold Ockel at El Toro, and there was Pipey Purriers there, Gordy Barthen, Lee Heffley. We were all there. That night on the way home, I totaled the car out. There was a car stopped in the road ahead of me. They ran out of gas, hit him, and as soon as I hit him, a car hit me in the back.
Ooh.
My car was about a foot shorter, and we never got hurt. The car in front of us shot. It was a 6-lane, 6-lane that shot all the way across. Busy highway shot all the way across, and the other ditch never. That could have been a massacre.
That hit him pretty hard then.
Yeah, the car in back of me, they either went through the windshield or their heads went through it, because we thought 1 or 2 guys got killed there, but found out later they let's see, I ended up getting sued, but I think this one guy in front of me that was pushing the car. See, whenever you hit anybody in the rear, it's your fault. You ain't supposed to overdrive your lights or whatever. But he ran around, jumped on the fender. Instead of running in a ditch, he thought maybe we'd go by. Jumped on there, and then he flew and broke his leg and that. And he ended up, my insurance company, I got out, and I don't even know what happened, but he said they were claiming damage and that. But the car in back of me, they didn't have any reason either, because they were overdriving their lights. They were too close to me.
Well, you had your lights on, the other guy didn't, right?
Well, they had their light. Everybody had their lights on except the guys that were pushing the car. They
Oh,
had
so
their
blocking
lights
it.
covered. They had blocked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a picture of that car there. Yeah, it's. Yeah, and then in '52 I bought a motorcycle. I went all the way out. I went all the way out to put on 3,200 miles in a '74 Harley.
Jeez.
That's all.
I seen Roland Swartz up at Fort Bragg, and then I went down over the Golden Gate Bridge. And I had it out there for quite a while. I think I ended up selling it. And I wiped out one time out there going around around the clover leaf. I hit an oil stick. Well, I was only maybe going about 20, 25. I slid about 20, 30 feet up to the cement or the curb, and I just slowed down. The bike flopped over, and I wore I wore a couple holes in my arm, wore a hole in the crash guard, But I hopped back on it and drove her away.
Do you have a leather jacket on, you mean? Or just
I
just on your arm?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
I had one here and one here. It was
Jeez.
pretty big.
Yeah, that oil is bad. I had when I was in I shouldn't be doing this now. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, anyway, in Wappinger Falls, I was going up a road, near a store, and I was going kind of slow, but somebody's oil had leaked out and just flipped right over.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing you can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just like on ice.
Yeah. Oh, worse than yeah.
Yeah.
About the same, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's see. You had never told us about your farming and your milk.
Yeah. Well, then anyway, we got back. Let's see. Got out in '52. Had a milk route for 2 years. Single yet. And then
That was way up in Weyerhaeuser, was it?
Sheldon, yeah,
Sheldon.
towards Ladysmith area.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then.
Were you living up there, or did you just commute?
Oh no, I had to drive. It was a long way, but it was good money there. Yeah. Well, Jerry Biscotzik, he talked about a milk route when we were out west, and that I had that my idea when I got out. I was going to get a milk route too, and I did. I bought Eldred Kellen. You ever know him?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Maybe your age. I
Yeah.
bought his.
I went to high school with him. Maybe a little younger.
I bought his milk route. Yeah.
Oh.
And then I should have kept it, but anyway, I ended up selling it, and then I worked at. I went to work for Norgruff then at Catalytic Combustion. Worked there 3.5 years, and I got married. I got married right in '55, and worked there, and then got to be 59 or so, and I was a little bit worried. You always worry about a steady job and everything, and I don't know if it was a recession year then or not, but anyway, I ended up buying a farm. Herberg's neighbor farm came for sale. It was only $35,000, so then I bought the farm. And I remember I was talking to Gibby Geisler in the bar this one day, and I says, well, one thing about farming, you'll always have a steady job, He says, you're damn right, them cows are always there. I can still hear him saying it. And he was right, too. Just like Uncle Vern. I talked to Donnie last night, Donnie Yakish. I called him there. And he said something about his dad. He hated farming too. He said, I ain't gonna be married to them damn cows.
Wait a minute, Donnie Yakish.
Yeah, Donnie Laverne, out west there. Yeah.
Oh,
He
yeah.
had a message on my.
Oh, okay.
That's
what I thought you meant.
Yeah, we can talk about it later there. But anyway, and from 1960 then till '76 when I sold the farm, it was kind of nose to the grindstone. Raised 4 kids. Dennis, born in '59, Lori, born in '63, Mike in '67, and Brian in '69. Raised 4 kids, and then the price of land went up in '76, so I ended up selling that, and then I went to school for assessor. I was assessor for 5 townships, and when that was done, that was a 6-month job a year, and then I did the carpenter work in between.
Now, why'd you go into farming? Because I thought you went out west to get away from farming.
That's
came back.
That's kind of ironic. You learn a little bit there. Farming was a good life, but it's hard work, a lot of hard work.
You got to be there
Yeah, you can't.
days. That's
You could
the
be
bad
someplace
part.
Sunday afternoon at a picnic or something, and got to be 5 o'clock. Well, you gotta go
Yeah.
milk them damn cows.
Yeah, go home, do the
Yeah.
chores.
My wife never. She wasn't a hired man. She never went in the barn either. So.
She wasn't a hired man.
Yeah. And one thing about me, I was, she was the boss. I was underneath her thumb all the time. Whatever she said, I had to do. Nobody kind of believes that, but it's true. Yeah, and well, then after, then I did the carpenter work and roofing and.
You work
And
for yourself?
then we were.
Who'd you work for? You work for yourself?
No,
or-
more or less myself. Yeah, I had Brian and Mike broke them in as roofers through high school and that, and
Well, where'd you learn to use carpenter work?
well, how did you learn? You didn't go to school.
Well, I
You
started
take
working
a hammer,
for Louis.
and you hammer, and there's a nail there, and if you can hit that nail in the head, you're a carpenter. if you tear off shingles, you got a fork with shingles. That's simple. Just like shoveling manure, you just take them out.
Yeah, well, shingling is fairly simple, but I mean, if you're building a
house net.
there's,
Yeah, well, I worked for John. I
rafters.
worked for John Schindler. He built.
Okay.
Well, it was training. You learned under Rosenbrooks or Louis.
Yeah,
You worked for Louis first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He didn't do much work though. He was in the bar most of the time.
Yeah,
he had to
he
have
was.
his shot of whiskey,
Oh yeah, he'd go from one job to
Yeah.
another in between.
Yeah, he was. You could always smell his breath. He always had booze on him. Yeah. Yeah, the kids. I told them, describe them. I said, well, I taught them all I know, and they still don't know nothing. But they must have learned something. They're both carpenters now and everything. Yeah, then Dennis, he works for Cray Research, and Brian is a roofer now, and then Mike, he's a general contractor. He builds garages and not too many houses, maybe a house once in a while, but windows. He puts most of the windows in for Badger Windows down there, so he's pretty active then, yeah. What
Yeah.
else?
Tell them about your airplanes.
Oh, yeah, airplane. Yeah, then right out of before the GI Bill ran out, it was, I think the last 3 or 4 years, I went and bought a Cub airplane. Well, I really didn't need it, but I went to Holman Airfield over in St. Paul, and under GI Bill I took flying lessons. And I sold it in 8 hours, and I know on a solo flight, they send you up and around 3 times, and the third time around the engine quit on me. I was up right over the middle of St. Paul with a dead stick, and I was high enough I could coast in and that, but the instructor, he says, well, you did okay, you landed there, so. But then I learned to do loops and spins and air, anything for a thrill, exciting. And then we ended up selling that in the 50s, and I think in 70 or 71 I bought a Taylorcraft, and I flew that for 3-4 years and everything. Had a lot of fun doing that, Yeah.
You talk about some of the tricks you pulled.
Loops and spins, yeah. I gave Wolmar and
Yeah.
spin is fun, and loops and.
You did something. I forget what it was.
Well, you do a double loop. You don't lose much altitude with a loop. You just dive and keep right on going again. You gotta when you get just about upside down, you kill the power and keep your stick back. Just come right out of it. You don't want to do it too close to the ground, though.
Yeah, he said that was next week's lesson or something. No, I never really did.
Yeah.
Did you ever go on any trips with the airplane, or?
Yeah, I went to an air show up in Siren, up there. Yeah. I never went. I was going across country once, and I was going to go look at a piece of machinery down in the southern part of the state, and I got as far as Black River, and it started to cloud up a little bit, so I checked on the weather, and they said no. They said they wouldn't recommend flying any further because there was a big front coming through, and so I went back home. And kind of
Turn tail.
Yeah.
Did you have your
They always say if you got time to spare, go by air. Especially if you got to watch the weather all the time. Yeah.
Did you have your instrument licenses? When you?
I never got my private, no, but I did had a minor accident. the one ski I was flying took off and I buzzed somebody on the lake, and the one ski flipped back, so I had one ski flat like it's supposed to be and the other one like this. So then I landed. I tried landing on the right ski, and well, as soon as I touched down, the other one hit and I wiped out. Skidded about 20 feet and bent the prop and broke the carburetor off, but I didn't flip it over anyway. So
This is in the water or on land?
it's on the lake.
Land. On a lake.
Marshmiller Lake, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's pretty lucky.
Yeah, that.
Well, you couldn't fix that yourself, though, could you?
Well, yeah, I think we ended up. See, Richard Ruffle, they had a shot. He covered an airplane. And everything.
Oh, he did?
Seekonite, this one,
Oh.
Seekonite, yeah.
I knew that you had to have somebody that was
Well,
certified.
on an airplane, you don't get an actual license plate. They say when you get it licensed, you got to have somebody inspect it. If the engine needs overhauling, before you get a license, you fix it, or anything had to be fixed.
Okay.
And then they okayed it. They just signed a piece of paper, and you were legal to fly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Then let's see where. Well, that's about it. Yeah, I said we were married 51 years altogether. Oh, my wife, December of 2006, my wife passed away. She had a heart bypass, then her kidneys went bad, then she had a ruptured colon, and she finally passed away. And then about 4 or 5 months later, I stopped to keep life from me. I was retired then, and to keep life from being boring, I took up karaoke. Singing karaoke. Tried it a few times. The first year, I've been singing now for just about 3 years. First year, I wouldn't sing unless I sang with somebody because I figured I didn't have a voice in that. But now, the last couple of years, I learned how to sing a little bit. Mostly Johnny Cash. You know, the Yakish family was their trade coming over was a musician, and most of them played instruments and everything. And I took clarinet lessons when I was in the 3rd grade. I think I lasted 2 or 3 lessons, and I went outside and played baseball. That was more fun. So then now the true music is coming out of me. So
All that talent.
yeah. And now I'm getting pretty good. I would say up north where I got my trailer house by west of Minot, I'm probably the most popular country western singer up there. When I walk in the bar, the DJ calls me up right away. How about Folsom Prison? And you get a lot of now you get that's kind of a hot song. You get a lot of drunks and a lot of women. They'll come up and join me singing. The drunks I don't really care for, but I don't mind the girls coming up.
I can do it.
This one drunk came up here a while back, and he says, "God, they're playing that kind of fast, aren't they?" And I said, "No, you're just slow." Get out of here. Well, I never turn anybody away. 'Cause it's all in fun, you know.
They wanted to sing with you, you mean, or
No, they sang. He tried to sing.
they tried to button because you're a good singer now.
This one time at the St. Patty's up there, they draw the biggest crowd of the year up there in the middle of March. And I was at this. Well, that's where that one drank, sang at one bar, and then he went to another bar. And there wasn't too much singing going on, but anyway, I told this one guy, go up and see if I can sing Folsom Prison. So they called me up there, and I no sooner started singing, and the hottest girl in the place, maybe 25, and they had green boots on and shorts and everything. She sang the song with me. Yeah. Yeah. Then that's about it. Retirement. I know hunting and fishing. I do enough stuff. I don't really have a hobby like a workshop or anything, but keep busy hunting and fishing, and then I follow sports like baseball and football and everything pretty good. And then now with croquet, you keep pretty busy. I know my brother-in-law Wes Peterson down in Chippewa. He told me at his wife's funeral he was kind of down and out. He said one thing, the only good thing about the golden year, not the good thing. He says the golden years. The only thing golden is your urine. I remember him saying that. So yeah. Yeah, so that's about it, I guess.
Think of anything else?
You can shut her down and start up again if you want to.
Yeah.